Hey, what's up guys? It's Texumer talking to you here, and today I want to talk about the M1 Max MacBook Pro 16-inch best features. But to start this video off, I want to say that if you are not a pro, I don't advise you getting this computer because this is way overkill for you. Although in this video I will talk about these amazing new features that Apple has implemented on these MacBook Pros. These computers are geared for professional use. So for example, if you are a guy that are very technological enthusiastic, but is not a pro or only does lightly stuff on their computer, I wouldn't advise you getting this computer because it's way overkill in terms of performance for what you need, and it's actually very expensive. Even all the models are expensive. Even the base model starts at $2,000. But if you really like the ProMotion technology, you really like MagSafe, you really like the extra I/O, you really like the new design trend, again, I advise you not to spend a lot of money in these computers because you don't need a performance. Even the base model computer performs extremely well, like enough for most of 99% of population. It's very fast, it's very powerful. Other YouTubers have proven that by doing speed tests and comparisons. So before I start talking about this M1 Max MacBook Pro, I will let you know that I do not advise you getting this computer unless you are a pro and you do a lot of graphic or CPU intensive stuff on your computer and you need a lot of power. RAM power, GPU power or CPU power. So not be afraid to go for the base model if you really like these new features that I will talk about in this video. So I have a video right there talking about why the base model is the best computer for everyone that wants a Pro Mac but it's not a Pro. So go watch it there if you prefer to buy a new MacBook Pro or if you are indecisive should you get the base model or not. But let's talk about the M1 Max MacBook Pro, shall we? There's a ton of new features on this computer, but there are mainly three that Apple has improved, and the main three are the display, the ports and I/O, and of course the performance. So let's start by the display. This computer features a 16-inch display, but it's bigger than the old 16-inch MacBook Pro because now you have a notch. This notch signifies that Apple has pushed the display to the corners as much as possible, removing all the bezels. Now the screen has round off corners, so all your content will be round off when you are on the main screen. But when you are opening a window or doing full screen stuff, the screen goes back to what it used to be in terms of the 16-inch. It gets back the squared off corners because you have to watch content with squared off corners. There are no round off corners on movies. Of course, you have that menu bar up there not annoying you because now it's even with the notch and it's all black. So it just works on a 16:10 aspect ratio, just like the older MacBook Pros. So it's quite incredible. The notch, you forget about it, you don't worry about it, it's just insane. And when you are using it, it's actually very comfortable. As you can see right now, I have the notch here and you have the menu bar up here. But if I open an app, for example, Finder, and I full screen it, you can see that the notch just goes away and you have here the menu bar. If I drop it, it becomes black because Apple is just putting the menu bar there where you don't have any content in the middle. Of course, optimizing have to be done from developers so that they do not put anything up there because the notch is kind of a dead spot. It's a safe zone like the iPhone, so the developers cannot develop up there. But of course, the display is not all about the notch, and so Apple has put here an amazing display, which is Apple XDR Mini LED ProMotion display. This display just feels incredible. It's actually very bright. Let me turn up the brightness. It's actually very bright. Its blacks look like an OLED screen. If you are not a trained eye, you would think that this display is an OLED screen because it's that just insane. It's very beautiful. The contrast is insane. Watching HDR video, it's amazing. And the colors are just incredible. At night, when very dark, you can notice a little bit of blooming, but it's way better than the M1 iPad Pro. If I wasn't noticing or trying to find it out, I wouldn't because it's that good. This screen is that good. The contrast ratio is amazing. 1:1 contrast ratio is, imagine a Pro Display XDR on a laptop. That's what this display is. And on top of that, has ProMotion technology. ProMotion technology is the same technology that we've seen on the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max. It refresh rates the display from 10 Hz to 120, saving battery life, depending what are you doing. If you are scrolling very fast, the display will appear at 120 Hz, which looks very smooth and fluid. But if you are reading text or doing other non-intensive stuff or quick stuff on your display, the display will ramp down to 10, 15, 20 Hz. It depends a lot. But if you are watching a 24 frames per second movie, the display will ramp down to 24 frames per second to show you the movie. Or you are watching a 30 frames per second video, the display will display that video at 30 frames per second. This is very useful when editing videos on Final Cut Pro, because right now I'm filming at 30 frames per second and I can edit this video at a real 30 frames per second, not at 60 like the older MacBook Pros. So this is very good. Just like my iPad Pro and my iPhone 13 Pro Max, now it features ProMotion, and I think that I cannot live without it. The only thing that's left is my Apple Watch, and I couldn't be more excited for Apple to put ProMotion on Apple Watch. But yes, this display is the best display I ever used, ever. I bought a Dell Sharp 27-inch to my dorm room university so I could use a bigger screen when I'm watching movies or working for very long hours, but it's not as good as this display. It's a 4K 60 display with HDR10 support, and it's very, very good, but it's not this level. It's an IPS panel, so it wouldn't be as good as this mini LED. But again, this display is the best display I've ever used, so I cannot make that comparison. But I will have a review, an unboxing, and all of you can expect from that display when it gets here. Don't forget to subscribe if you are interested in that. The second feature that Apple mainly improved on these computers is the port situation. Now we have many I/O ports. So before you only have 4 Thunderbolt ports, 1 headphone jack if you are using the more expensive models. But if you are using the cheaper models like I used to, you only get 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, and that sucks. Let me tell you, you have to use a lot of dongles, which is very boring and it's not that good. You have to use and worry about that computer is compatible with my dongle. I have to bring my dongles here to university. I have to bring my dongles to work because I won't have any connections. And again, you want to connect to, I don't know, maybe a projector or something, and you don't have an HDMI port and you forgot your dongle home, you are completely screwed. You cannot connect to pen drives, anything. You cannot connect to anything. You want to do, I don't know, maybe transferring files between a USB-A to another stuff, you have to use a dongle. But again, you have to use a dongle here. But now, as Apple has implemented 3 stuff that's very important to me, which is HDMI, SD card slot. These 2 are the most important ones, because now you have these 2 connections where I can use the SD card slot for my drone, and I can use the HDMI to connect to external displays or projectors, which is very important in my game. So Apple bringing back these 2 ports and only taking out 1 Thunderbolt port, it's actually very important for me, because I can keep my Thunderbolt 4 ports, which I use a lot, and I can use my HDMI and SD card, which I also will use a lot, saving me 1 port. So now I have 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports. But again, Apple did save me another Thunderbolt 4 port by adding MagSafe. So MagSafe is back. Yes, I never used MagSafe on a Mac, but I gotta tell you, it's amazing. It just clicks and it works very well. It works almost like the new MagSafe from the iPhones. It's just as convenient and I love it. I could not live without it right now. It's way faster than USB-C when charging, because I have an 140 watt power brick, which with MagSafe on only the 16-inch can fast charge this computer. So it fast charges quick, let me tell you, like 45 minutes, half an hour can put this computer almost topped up, which is quite fast. But again, this port I/O situation has been solved by Apple. Now every professional don't need to worry about using a lot of dongles. Of course, if you use CFast cards or you want to using USB-A or even Ethernet ports, you will have to use a dongle, but those are very niche products and very niche situations. So right now, this port situation, in my opinion, has been solved by Apple, and I'm very grateful for that. Another thing that has been added to this computer, which I like a lot, is the design. The design has been changed, and now it's gone back to a retro type design, just like the unibody MacBook Pros. This design is more flat everywhere. So instead of having that curve on top, on the bottom, now it's flat, completely flat, and the feet are a little bit raised up. This improves the airflow on this computer. Also, you have here some vents. You probably cannot see them, but you have some vents there, while the other 16-inch MacBook Pro, the older one, didn't. So this improves airflow too. So now the vents and the fans don't have to work as hard to put the air rolling, and the computer can get cooler without making a lot of noise. So this computer is very quiet and it doesn't make a lot of noise. Also, the edges are a little bit more rounder and smoother, so now it doesn't cut in on your hands like it used to. My old MacBook Pro cut in my hands a lot and it kind of hurt if you were holding it for a very long time. This computer, it's very smooth, but it's not very comfortable to hold for a very long time because it's very big, it's very heavy, but again, this is a very large laptop with very high performance tests and metrics, so it's okay to be heavier. It has bigger batteries, which is also amazing. So this makes this laptop heavy, bulky, but perfect in its way. Again, I brought it to university on a backpack, and I mean, it was heavy, I felt it on my hands, but when I put on my backpack, which had also my iPad Pro, it felt almost like nothing. I didn't feel the extra weight, so that's fine for me. I don't actually mind this computer being a little bit heavier, and it won't too because you won't feel it that much. Again, it's a little bit heavier, bulkier. If you compare it to the older MacBook Pros, you will notice it, but it's nothing to talk about and to rage about because this is perfect. I like the battery life a lot on this computer, and that's I'm willing to take the extra girth just to get bigger batteries and better performance. The speakers on this new MacBook Pro are insanely good. They are even better than the 16-inch MacBook Pro, and they feature a sick tweeter system. It's amazing, and now I'm gonna show you how good it is. The cameras on these new MacBook Pros are also improved. Now we have a 1080p FaceTime HD camera with new 4-element lens and a new aperture of 2.0. Also, it has a new ISP, which improves the light performance by 2 times. This is incredible. Also, the video was also changed and improved. Now it has computational video, which is improved by the cores and the neural cores from the A14, making this, in my opinion, the best MacBook Pro camera ever. And to test that out, here's 2 tests in good and bad lighting. This is the camera and microphone from the M1 Max 16-inch MacBook Pro in good lighting. This is the 16-inch M1 Max MacBook Pro's camera and microphone in low light. Performance was definitely the most improved on this new MacBook Pro. First, let's talk about the efficiency. This computer is the most efficient Mac that I've ever used. It's like insane. The battery life is insane. It's just very fast. Like it lasts me 12 to 15 hours, and these 12 to 15 hours are like doing light stuff, streaming video, watching movies, YouTubes, and doing work on PowerPoint on stuff. It lasts me 3-4 days easily. But if I'm doing other stuff like video editing or photo editing, which are very CPU intense or GPU intense, it gets me like 6, 7, 8 hours. It's just ridiculous. I never seen a computer last this long under such load. Like, it's just insane. This thing can put out so much power just on battery life, and it's just stupid, and I don't think how Apple can do it. Just Apple Silicon is so efficient and optimized on Final Cut that it's just ridiculous how powerful this computer is, together with the fact that it's just way powerful. Yesterday I was doing, or 2 days ago, I was doing a lot of benchmarks on this computer, like Cinebench R23, Geekbench 5, Blackmagic speed tests, and I gotta tell you, it only like spend 10%, 15% battery life. Just ridiculous. I put this PC through so much yesterday, and it also edited the video, launched the video. So this PC is just insane. This MacBook is just the best MacBook Pro I have ever got, and I have to tell you, like, it's worth it. It's just worth it. If you are a pro, it's worth it. It's worth it. The efficiency that it comes and efficiency gains when compared to the older Intel MacBook Pros is just stupid insane. And compared to the M1, it's as efficient as the M1, keeping all the efficiency, adding a lot of power. And talking about power, this M1 Max has 32 GPU cores. This is the 32 GPU core option with 32 gigabytes of RAM. It has 10 cores on the CPU, 8 high performance cores, 2 high efficiency cores. These performance cores are from the A14, not the A15, if you are wondering. But they are just insane in terms of performance. This computer has 1 terabyte of storage. The SSDs here are very fast. They get 5 gigabytes of read and write. So this is the fastest SSDs that I've ever tested. I haven't compared to the 2016 13-inch MacBook Pro that I've had before, which had a lot fast SSDs. Let you know that they had 1 gigabyte write and around 500 megabytes read. So they were very fast. But this is like just on another level, like 5 times, 10 times faster. So it's just faster is the word that you can connect this computer. Again, when rolling benchmarks for the CPU, I got around 12,000 points on Cinebench R23 for single core. For single core, I was in 4th, only losing to Intel Xeons and AMD Ryzen's 9s and all of those big CPUs that run on big machines with a lot of power, like 200 watts, 180 watts on big desktops that are very power hungry and produce a lot of heat. This is a ARM CPU, integrated CPU, that runs on a laptop. So coming 4th from these computers is just insane. Even beat Intel i9s. So you can see that this M1 Max is no joke. But again, the CPU performance is the same for the M1 Pro and the M1 Max. So you can get a lot of performance for the CPU only going for the base M1 Pro. So do not think that you need the CPU power and performance to go for the M1 Max. But the thing that makes the difference is the GPU. Again, I run the tests on CPU on Geekbench 2, Geekbench 5, and I got 1700 for single core, which is the same as the M1. You would expect that because it has the same single core as the M1 MacBook Pro and M1 MacBook Air. But multi-core, it destroyed those and destroyed every other computer and thing that I've ever tested, getting 12,000 points. So that's just ridiculous. But for the metal test for Geekbench 5, I got 68,000 points, which is just insane. I never tested a CPU or a GPU as fast as this one. Of course, there are better GPUs. This is not the best GPU score that I out there, but for a laptop GPU, it beats a lot of other GPUs. It can come close to a 3070 Ti from Nvidia. It comes close to that. I think it's the same performance, and it loses just by a bit for the 3080 Ti, which is the best GPU on the market from Nvidia. And those are discrete GPUs that run very, very hot and powerfully hungry. So they need 180, 200 watts of power just to run, and they spend a lot of energy, and they are very heat. They are not efficient at all, and you cannot put those on a laptop. This is a laptop GPU integrated on a CPU ARM technology. So again, the CPU on this machine is just insane. It has 32 cores, the best GPU that you can get on Apple right now. You will see way better performance on the Mac Pro because you will see it 4 times faster. So again, it's just insane. But if you don't need extra GPU performance, you can go for the 16 core or 24 core GPU option. But again, I opted for the 32 core because I need the extra performance from my GPU. Of course, the 32 gigabytes of RAM are way more than enough. It's way powerful, and I don't know why I needed that much RAM. I only bought the 32 gigabytes because I had to. It was the M1 Max maximum power requirements, so it needed the 32 gigabytes or only the 64. 64 is way overkill and way expensive, so it had to pay $400 more, so I opted to go for the 32 gigabytes. I don't need the extra 32 gigabytes of RAM, but again, if you do, it's a great deal because only $400 for extra 32 gigabytes, it's worth it for the people that need it. I don't, so it's overkill for me and not worth it. Again, this computer was actually very expensive. It went for around 4,000 euros, $3,500. So I do not recommend you getting this computer if you don't need to. If you are not a pro, please do not spend the extra money on this computer. It's a waste of money. Go for the M1 MacBook Pro, wait for the M2 MacBook Air. This is way overkill for you. And if you do really need this mini LED screen, this MagSafe, this new HDMI port, this new extra I/O, if you do love the design, if you do love promotion, consider the base model M1 Pro Bint, because that 14-inch computer is a huge, amazing deal because it performs almost as well, let me say that, almost as well as these two computers, the M1 Max and the M1 Pro 14-inch and 16-inch. So it's not worth it for people that don't need the extra 10% of performance. If you just need the new features that come on these MacBook Pros, go for the base model. I have a video right there explaining why the base model is the best option for the average consumer if you are looking for these features. Again, if you are not looking for these features and you need the MacBook Pro, go for the M1 MacBook Air. It's the best option. It's still the best option on the market, or wait for the M2 MacBook Air. That's also very good. And again, let me say this computer is not for everyone. It's expensive, but in my opinion, it's way worth it for me. I'm very happy with it. I exported a lot of videos. I've worked a ton on this computer. I exported I think I exported yesterday's video, which had 17 minutes. It had ProRes footage, a lot of it. I think half of the video was just ProRes footage. The parts where I'm talking, it's ProRes footage. The other one is B-roll from the iPhone. So exported it very fast. So this computer is just insane. I exported it very fast, very efficiently. Only spent like I don't know, I edited for 3 hours, export the footage, I had like 70%, and at the end of that I had like 25%. So the battery gains on these computers are real. The M1 Pro and M1 Max are so efficient. I love these new performance gains. But what are your thoughts on this computer? Let me know in the comments down below. And also, did you get one? Also put it there. Are you using one? Did your performance tests went well? What are you doing with it? Let me know on the comments down below also. And while you're there, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. I'm very happy, 314 subscribers. Thank you for all of your support. Don't forget to follow my social networks, Twitter and Instagram. This was Tech Summer talking to you here. Bye.